Trading small cap stocks for me in the beginning was complete gambling until I figured out these very simple topics that I'm going to be breaking down with a trade recap on SMMT today, which so far has gone from $1.20 to over $2.60 in a single day. That's over 100% gains, and I'm still holding it. If you talked to me 5 years ago, I probably would have got in at 120, sold at 125 and said, hey, green is good, great trade. But people always mess up one simple thing in trading, and that is cutting losers fast, but then letting winners run. And letting winners run is the most important thing because you have to let the stock do the work for you. So in this lesson, I'm going to be breaking down how you can stack the odds in your favor to give you the best potential of getting a winning trade. No, that does not mean you're going to have every stock be a win. You have to break that from your mindset, but calculating the risk ahead of time, planning the trade ahead of time, and then just letting the risk happen, see what happens from that. And if it's a winning trade, sit back, let it do its work. So this is going to be a great lesson for you newer traders. And if you're just kind of struggling on getting your account to grow in the way that you want it to grow, because small cap stocks are still around, they're still pumping up like crazy. So you're going to enjoy this one. If you like it, hit the like button for the YouTube algo and enjoy. So for today, I just want to do a very kind of in-depth breakdown from start to finish about SMMT and just pretty much going through the process of doing that quick due diligence about a company that has news, making sure that the catalyst makes sense, and then just planning the trade and then actually executing the trade and locking in those profits as the stock does spike up. So just going to start from the top, SMMT. This was a stock that was on the pre-market scanner on scans. It was the leading dollar volume stock of the morning. And you can see it has this 5. That means there's 5 different news releases for this specific company. Also, you can see the float right there is about 28.1 million shares. So a decently lower float stock. The price was around 120 per share this morning, so definitely a lower float, right? And so just before we get into the chart itself, I want to look at the news because this was a news release that was, very, very impactful, where you can see, click on this, the leading headline today was that they were partnering with a private company with a deal for up to $5 billion in a licensing agreement with a breakthrough bispecific antibody type treatment. So the main thing here is nothing else but that $5 billion number. That's a very big number for a small cap company to associate itself with, right? So that in itself is a very strong press release. It's very bullish. And then, of course, you want to just kind of read into it just to get a grasp of exactly what's going on. So basically, it seems like this company has this drug that they are licensing to Summit, and they're going to be producing it with a licensing agreement. So one of the things with that, which was kind of concerning to me at first, was that if you go down here, where is it at? Right here. It says that Summit is going to make an upfront payment of $500 million. I was like, okay, whoa, that's a very big upfront payment for this small cap company to make. The very first thing I want to check is how much cash on hand do they have to fund that? So I just went to Google. I typed in SMMT cash on hand. Very simple, search. And I saw here that their cash on hand as of recently was around $122 million, which is obviously less than $500 million. So like, okay, well, now it's kind of weird, right? Like, how are they going to fund this deal? Like, the only way they could really do that is either by taking on some debt or doing an offering out of nowhere. So, right away, the main concern was, okay, well, if I get long this stock, there's a chance they're going to do an offering. And that would obviously be very bad, right? Just a dropping an offering out of nowhere. But then, I went down a bit more in the PR, and you can see down here, it says, oh, actually, they're announcing a 500 million rights offering. So that seems very bad at face value, right? Because, okay, well, I definitely don't want to get long this stock today if they're going to do an offering ASAP, because then they would just tank the price. But if you read into this, it says that they're not going to do it no earlier than January 23rd, 2023, which is in about roughly 2 months, right? So we still have time to trade this without being smacked with that massive dilution. So right away, all those fears of the offering and that mass dilution go away, right? Because now it's just a very strong stock. It has a lot of eyes on it. It has an amazing PR. And now we're pretty much guaranteed with this PR that they're not going to do an offering until as early as late January. So for a long, that's a really reassuring sign, right? So now it's a very good stock to play, and I really want to get involved with it. That's kind of the background DD, right? The background due diligence of just looking to see, does this stock have potential from just a basic kind of investment standpoint? Not that we're investing in it, but you know, a lot of trading volume does come from investors and just that overall bullish hype. So then from there, I just want to look at how to actually plan to trade this thing. And basically what I came up with this morning, I had it on the watch list. The main plan I had was that no matter what I do, I don't want to stop out of this unless it breaks 108. So here's the watch list. It's first green day with huge news of a possible $5 billion deal. And the pre-market low support is 108, and that should be the max loss. As long as it holds 108, it is still kind of bullish. And I don't want to stop out of this unless it breaks below that line. So that's like my max risk level that I'm going to use in the TradeBuddy Trade Planner. And then from there, just looking at this pre-market chart, one of the main things I love to do is just use the line chart. And you can see that on the line chart, we do have this area of previous resistance right near 121. Now, this was kind of tough for me because I usually really don't like when there's a big discrepancy between the very top wick and the actual line. However, when I looked at like the actual price action that made this wick, it was like only 100,000 shares, which isn't that much when even in pre-market, the average candle was trading over 500 to 1 million shares. So, having 100K at 150s, it wasn't like a big resistance level. And it really seemed like just the core resistance was around 122. And then also we have to go to the daily chart, right? Because always you want to make sure that we look at where these things are mapped out from the big picture. And you can see from the bigger picture, from the daily and weekly chart, there is quite a bit of past, prior history in this 120 range. Let me just look at the daily chart real quick. You can kind of see that there's a previous resistance right here. It's not a very obvious one, but it's, right at 124. And just overall, like, if you just kind of zoom out, it seems like this is like just a basin kind of area that rejected a lot. Now, as far as levels of resistance, next main levels we really have are up here, 164, then up near 202. Then after that, it really opens up and there's no real next resistance until like 340 on the daily chart. Now on the weekly chart, it's kind of similar, right? Same overall levels. You have a weekly chart resistance right here near 129. And then these levels here are same as daily lines for the most part. And then it really opens up, right? Next after that is like near 5. So not a bad daily chart. One of the main things that sticks out to me on this is that there's not a lot of prior massive volume. If you look at this volume here, most of this volume happened between like 120s and up to 150s. So that kind of means that once it can get over that 150 level, there's almost no massive bag holder resistance. So that means there's a lot of upside potential just for it to really run up into those next key levels from the chart. So with all those things in mind, you can now kind of see that just in this area between like 120s and 130s, there's a lot of potential support. Now, this is the main thing with trading. You never know for sure which trades are going to work out, but you have to stack the odds in your favor and you have to manage your risk before the trade. I say this every single day. And the way we do that is by planning an entry, planning a max loss, then plugging those numbers into the trade planner so it can tell us how many shares we can actually risk on the trade. And then from there, you just take the risk. There's no amount of indicators, there's no amount of confirmation that you can use to guarantee a win. But the most important thing is just trying to stack the odds in your favor and taking that calculated risk in the trade and then just seeing what happens. So I ended up going along on this off of 124. That was pretty much right into this first pullback. I didn't really care about waiting until after 10 a.m. here because it just had so many good things about it. Mainly that PR, knowing that there's no dilution happening soon, right? It's just a very, very, very bullish, setup. So I went along pretty much right away. And then from there, my plan was really just to kind of wait to see if we can break out above that actual pre-market high in the 150s. Now, because for me, this was like just such a bullish potential setup, I did kind of wait around a bit to lock in my partial profits. That might have been a bad idea, but I didn't lock in my first partial until this third test of 150 here, just when it was actually starting to break higher. Like during this time, the main thing I really cared about was number one, as long as it holds my support 120s, then it's overall bullish. Number two, holding VWAP is also a good sign, right? It's making higher lows, it's holding the average daily volume, and it's just, it's kind of moving upwards. So you can see right here during this first dip, it dipped down, held VWAP. Looks good. Second one too, it kind of dipped down, held VWAP. Looks good. And then now here you can see the last kind of dip, held VWAP, looked good. Now, I'm not saying, right, please don't get this misconstrued. I'm not saying that in my mind, these are good entries because I personally would never enter at these points. My system is very strict. I'm very strict with my entries. The only place that I would enter this was using that previous resistance as new support, risking the break below lows. Like that's where the risk is managed. And that's where I have developed my own data-backed confidence with the trade. Here, these holds of VWAPs, not good entries, but they're just kind of bullish things to see. However, of course, at some point I got kind of not bored with the trade, but I wanted to lock in some profits. And during this consolidation, I just made the plan, okay, just next time it pops up and tests the 150s, I'm gonna take off some size just in case it is too much resistance here. So I locked in my first partial here into the 150s. And then from there, it really started to open up. Now, one nice thing you can see here was it seemed like at this point, once this volume came in from here on after, so like just from here after, was when it started to just more so respect those classic kind of breakout trend rules. Where you can see on the 5-minute chart, is when it started to really stair step off those levels of previous resistance as new support. For example, here, 149, that previous resistance broke out and held as new support. This is an area where, if you missed like the morning trade using this previous resistance as new support, that might be a trade. It would kind of be a hard one for me to take since it's already kind of so extended. And I'm glad that I didn't have to make that choice since I was already long it. But that is something that does look like a system that I would trade. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then from there, it was really just a matter of knowing where my prior levels were and locking in partial profits into those key levels. So I locked in quite a bit of different partials today, and I am still holding the rest now overnight. And, pretty much it's all about just, having the entry, having the confidence with your trade. And then once it starts to move just in a big way, start piecing off some profits piece by piece, depending on how many shares you have, right? Now at this point, like I have less than half of what I had when I entered, but I'm very happy with that. I'm just going to swing the rest overnight. Now at this moment, really the main thing I care about is we should be able to confidently hold $2 overnight. The most I would be comfortable with is that, holding 186 would be fine too. But if it starts to really break down those levels, then I would be more inclined to start to lock in some more partials and look to exit the trade. As far as levels of resistance higher, we really have just way up here at $3 is the next main level, 347, $5. Now it may seem far away now, but I want to make sure that I just allow the stock just as much time as it needs to really show me that potential. And right now it still looks 100% bullish. Now, one thing I didn't touch on, which does play a part into my thesis, was this PR where I had that $500 million offering piece in it. Like I could just imagine there's probably a good amount of short sellers who saw that and didn't read any further. That, oh my God, they're doing a big offering soon. Let's go. Let's just short this thing and wait. But they have to wait quite some time, right? All the way until January 23rd. And that might not be in their best interest. So not only is there a reason to believe there are probably shorts trapped from the PR itself, but just from the price action, right? The main thing was after it broke out above this resistance that you can see initially rejected almost 4 times. Well, technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. The reason why those rejected are quite literally because there were more sellers than buyers at that point, right? Very basic concept. And once the volume came in after 1 p.m. and it was able to break out through that resistance, you can just kind of imagine anyone that was short there probably is going to want to start covering. And they're going to want to cover as close to break even as possible. And that's why, in my view, after we broke out through that, it pulled back and it held as support. Because anyone who was selling here is now trying to buy out of their position. And that's what causes that previous resistance to hold as new support. And then from there, it's just been on a big squeeze. Like to me, there's no coincidence as to once it was able to break out of the main selling level, after that happened, it really opened up and just started to squeeze. Because this to me is just a short squeeze. It's just shorts getting squeezed out and being forced into buying back in. And that's why it just went vertical after that point. So yeah, I mean, a very, very strong stock, has a lot of great things going for it, and hopefully a very good lesson and example of making that thesis, understanding the catalyst, and then just kind of planning the trade and executing it with risk in mind. Like I said, you don't know for sure which trades are going to work out. All you can do is try to have the odds stacked in your favor and take the calculated risk in a trade and then just see if it works out. If it doesn't, the risk is managed. But if it does, there's a lot of profit to be made on the upside. All right, so if you enjoyed that lesson and you stuck through the entire thing, then it probably means that you like the way that I teach and you are able to understand the concepts that I'm teaching you. If you're a new trader and you're struggling in the markets, I know that you can go out and try to learn it all by yourself. I did that same thing and it took me years to finally, grasp it all and make an actual system. But I want to shorten that learning curve for you. So I have a lot of free content down below. Number one, I have my 1-hour trading course that you can sign up for completely for free to get an actual roadmap of how to trade. And also I want to invite you to my community of traders with a 14-day free trial. You're going to get a course, a chat room, and you can talk to me directly and ask me questions. So I want to help you on your journey. I know it can be very stressful, very hard to kind of figure out all the pieces, but I've already made the puzzle and I want to give it to you solved. So if you want that content, please click the links down below. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video lesson.